introduction, Nayara. Again, my name is Mónica Ventura, and I'm a PhD student in the chemistry department here. And our talk is going to be about our new organization, STEM Now, which is a support group for women in STEM at the university. So first, I'll talk a little bit about myself. I started out at community college, and I got my associates in liberal arts and sciences, and then I moved on to a four-year school, University of New Haven, because I wanted to get my degree in forensics, and then I also got a concentration in chemistry. After I graduated from there, I knew that I wanted to continue doing forensics research, so a professor there told me to look into UAlbany and UAlbany, so that's why I'm here. And since my time here, I've been part of many organizations, but lately I've been mostly focusing on the Younger Chemist Committee, which is part of the American Chemical Society, and more importantly, STEM Now, Nourishing Opportunities for Women, which we'll talk more about throughout this presentation. And also, I recently started a podcast called STEM Diaries Beyond Breakthroughs, where I talk about not only the research of scientists, but also their life journeys and challenges that they've gone through, where I amplify usually the voices of underrepresented groups. So shameless plug, if you want any updates on that, you can follow me on Instagram at SciChicaMonica.
Hi, I'm Riley Alpuché. I am a second year PhD student in Dr. Igor Lednev's lab, also the chemistry department. A little bit about me. I am a first gen college student, first in my family to go to undergrad, first to go for a graduate degree. I went to Augusta University down in Augusta, Georgia, so I moved quite a few miles to be here. While in undergrad, I got very involved with ACS, focusing a lot on green chemistry for just science, for experiments. And then I moved up here because I'm interested in forensics. So I started at UAlbany. I originally was going to go for a master's, but one of my mentors down in Augusta was like, just apply for a PhD, see what happens. And I got into the program, so I was like, might as well. Here, I'm involved with the Society for Applied Spectroscopy as a student executive board member. I'm the vice president, as well as the Copeland Society. Another shameless plug, we are holding a symposium. SAS is holding a symposium June 21st. So if you want to attend, please register or submit an abstract. And then of course I'm involved in STEM Now as well.
Hello everyone, and thanks for coming. Sorry. My name is Benedetta Garosi, and I am a third year PhD student here at UAlbany in Dr. Robinus's lab in the chemistry department. I am originally raised and born in Italy, and I came to the US after I graduated high school. I obtained my bachelor's degree in chemistry from Southern Utah University with a minor in biology and a concentration in forensic chemistry. And my advisor at SUU suggested me to apply for a PhD, and so I applied to several programs, and I was interested in forensic chemistry, and so I got accepted and directly recruited in Dr. Musa's lab here at the University of Albany, and so that's why I'm here. During my time here at UAlbany, I've been involved in several organizations. One of them is the graduate gathering for the life sciences, and I am the secretary for that organization. I'm the PR chair for STEM Now, and then I'm also the secretary for Atomic Days, that is the chemistry club here at UAlbany.
Hello everyone, my name is Alexis Weber, Dr. Alexis Weber, as I have recently defended my thesis. Thank you. I did my research here at the University of Albany in Igor Lednev's lab. But when I started, I grew up in Florida, and I did my undergraduate degree at the University of Central Florida with getting my BS in forensic chemistry. And then decided it was too hot and moved up north to Connecticut to go to the University of New Haven, where I proceeded to get my master's, also in forensic chemistry. And then I decided to keep moving north up to Albany, New York, where I'm now completing my degree for analytical chemistry as a PhD. I also run a startup company called Supermetric, where we're commercializing technology for body fluid identification for forensic purposes. I have also been involved in a number of organizations because they're a wonderful way to network and communicate with many individuals. The Society for Applied Spectroscopy, where I'm the national student representative for the organization. The Copeland Society, where I am an active volunteer and trying to establish a student representative position at that organization as well. And of course, STEM Now, where I'm the current, but soon to be ex-chemistry rep, so if anyone's interested in being our chemistry rep, talk to Monica. And I'll actually hand it back over to Monica now.
So now that we're done with introductions, we'll get into the good stuff. But I want to talk to you today about how women make significant contributions in STEM fields, but yet they remain underrepresented. So we're going to talk about why this is happening and what we can do to change this. So first I'll go over a brief history of women in STEM and the challenges that they go through. Then we'll talk about the initiatives that have been created in order to circumvent these issues and the progress that they've made so far. And that's where I'll go into the reason why we started STEM Now. Then I also want to talk about the importance of allies, because without any allies, we wouldn't have any of these initiatives to begin with. And then I also want to talk about the importance of intersectionality as being a woman in STEM, but also being part of other underrepresented groups. And then after the talk, we'll go into a panel discussion where you can ask any of us questions or let us know any comments that you have. So I'd like to talk about the gender gap. So first, I want to give you a poll.
We're chemists on engineers.
Okay. So I want to ask you, if out of the total 975 Nobel laureates, how many do you think are women? So you can either go to slido.com and enter this number, or you can do the QR code through your phone to answer the question.
Oh, wait, you said 975? I did know the correct answer.
Okay, so I see some numbers. We have guesses that range from 5 to 65, which are all low numbers, but pretty good guesses. So the actual answer is that 65 Nobel Prizes have been awarded to women between 1901 and 2023. So congratulations on the 2 people who got that right. Where 25 of those female Nobel laureates are in science, so that's about 3% of the total. And here you can see a plot where it shows the winners between 1901 and 2020, where it shows the female laureates in purple and the male in like this bluish greenish color. So for example, between these years, there have been 7 female laureates in chemistry and 179 male laureates, whereas since 2020, there has been 1 more female. However, women are making slow progress at the Nobel Prize. So you can see here in this graph, it shows the female laureates in sciences in yellow, and the female laureates in literature and peace in purple, and then the total male laureates in gray. And you can see there is a slight increase in the trend. However, there's still a large gap between female and male laureates. So one of the reasons this is happening is something called the leaky pipeline, which is where women drop out of STEM careers at various stages due to challenges and barriers. So here's a visualization of the leaky pipeline on the right, where even though you get a lot of people getting basic education, More women are like leaking out of this pipeline so that less are going into higher education, less are going into the labor market, and even less than that are getting their PhDs and becoming professors. And then you have the least amount becoming CEOs at companies. Now this is happening because of many reasons, one of which could be lack of representation, where you don't want to be in an environment or work somewhere where nobody looks like you or nobody understands you. There's also a challenge with work-life balance, where many women are usually seen as caretakers or homemakers when compared to their male counterparts, so it can be difficult to balance the role of a caretaker and also working full-time. And then there's also bias, where many people still believe that women can't do these roles. And now this leads to a loss of talent and potential when you don't have diversity in teams, and a lower diversity of ideas as well. So now we're going to talk about what initiatives have been done to help with this.
So how do we close the gender gap? Well, first of all, there are many diversity in initiatives that have been started in this country. So for example, the Association for Women in Science is an organization that aims to combat job discrimination, lower pay, and professional isolation. Then there is a program called Spark for Gender Equity that was started by the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, and provides professional development opportunities and networking for women and other gender minorities. And then there's also another example is Girls Who Code, which is an international nonprofit that aims to increase the number of women in computer science and other associated fields or tech fields. So there are a lot of progress that indicate and show how these programs and organizations have been helping. For example, in Girls Who Code, the alumni of this organization are choosing to major in computer science over the field at a higher rate that is seven times higher than the national average. So it's a good first step to increase retention of women in STEM. And so this showed promise in creating more inclusive STEM field. And so based on this and all the knowledge that we have about the diversity initiative, we wanted to do something in this campus. And so that's why we created STEM Now. Well, by now you probably know that STEM Now stands for Nourishing Opportunity for Women. And the reason why we started this, the motivation that brought us to start this organization, was that because we witnessed a lot of underrepresentation of women in STEM, not only in our on our campus, but in general, going to conferences and different attendances. And so through our journey as women in STEM, it made us aware what challenges women face and what obstacles we need to overcome in order to succeed in these fields. And so we went to Dr. Marlene Belford, and we wanted to telling her how we wanted to make a change on this campus. And so Dr. Marlene Belford, as a trusted faculty member, part of the National Academy of Science, she helped us get our foot off the ground and helped us find funding for our events. And so, thanks to her, we were able to get our mission straightened out and our organization started. And so our mission is that to facilitate a safe environment where people of all backgrounds and gender can work together to promote equality in STEM through professional development, networking, and advocacy. So here you see three pictures, and pictures from our events. So the first picture was one of the first event that we hosted, and it was just a regular meet and greet where students from UAlbany came together from a variety of different departments, and we just got to know each other and see every student explain their concerns and what they would like to see improved, how they want this organization to help them out. Then the second picture is one of our STEM Now lunches. STEM Now lunch is a bi-weekly event where we just meet up to have lunch together. Everyone brings their own lunch, and it's just a way to get out, have our lunch, and connect with other people and network as well. And this last picture is from one of our most attended events. It was a panel discussion where we invited faculty members, postdocs, and a woman from the industry, who works in industry, and students were able to ask them questions and see what challenges they faced and how they overcame those. And linked to the panel discussion, tomorrow there is going to be a panel discussion together with grad gathering where postdocs have been invited, and it's just a panel with postdocs. And you can come ask questions. They're from different departments, different backgrounds, so feel free and join us. So now, as you can see, we are not only an organization for women. It is in the name, but we welcome all genders. And so, to link to that, I have another poll for you. Yes, and so again, you can scan the QR code or type in this number in on the website.
Yes, so the question is, do you think that men can play a crucial role in promoting gender diversity in STEM? So it looks like we have an even split. Surprise answer. Yeah, an even split, which is okay. All right, that was dumb. Which is good. It leads me to what I'm going to talk about, which is the importance of male allies. So there are many reasons why male allies are important. They can help to amplify the voices of their female colleagues who face challenges of gender bias stereotypes and discriminatory behavior in the workplace. For example, if a female worker were to bring up a problem and it isn't heard, but a male worker bringing up the same problem to help bring it to administration's attentions, it might be more likely to be addressed. Other examples include provide mentorship and sponsorship for career advancement and to share responsibility for fostering diverse teams. A lot of times, diversity programs or policies are started by women or minorities, but we shouldn't be the only ones shouldering this responsibility. It's for everybody, so everybody should be doing the work. This includes male allies or white men, right? Because I know a lot of times people focus on specifically white men, right? But I'm going to be talking about a couple of examples. So first, I would like to introduce to you Dr. John Holdren, who was the former director of the White House Office of Science and Technology under former President Barack Obama. So one of the big things that he helped to launch was the Educate to Innovate campaign, which it was a program that focused a lot on STEM education and actually helped emphasized women and minorities in STEM education. It provided a lot for expanding education and helping to encourage as well as provide resources for. Another thing was these Women in STEM roundtables, which was under the OSTP, or Office of Science and Technology Policy. Dr. Holdren started these roundtables featuring female scientists, educators, and policy workers who these discussions led to immense changes in policies for STEM. Another example is Dr. Freeman Hrabowski, the president of the University of Maryland in Baltimore County. His goals to promote diversity in STEM focuses a lot on how he teaches. His philosophy in teaching is to focus on inclusive excellence, which means that no matter where a student is from, their background, their gender, they are able to achieve excellence in STEM if they are provided the correct resources. He also started, based on this philosophy, a program to promote women in STEM faculty. Under his leadership, tenure track positions for female professors have tripled. That is moving on to this next part.
So we've talked a lot about women in STEM, but we've also talked a lot about male allies. But the thing we haven't quite reached yet is how our identity is not just our gender. It is a whole bunch of things. It is how women with diverse backgrounds experience unique challenges that intersect with their gender. So I myself am a Black woman in STEM, and I have faced unique challenges that come with this, which I will discuss shortly. But before that, our last live poll. So, have you personally experienced or witnessed challenges related to other forms of discrimination? This can be due to race, ethnicity, disabilities, first generation, etc., while in STEM. And then if we do see some unsure answers, we'll talk about what those can look like and what that might mean. Our police. So, what is intersectionality in STEM? It's when you have to face multiple types of discrimination at once due to disadvantages of your overlapping identities. And it might not be something extremely apparent. It might come across as opportunities being presented to you. I am now, for the conference SIEX, the first diversity, equity, and inclusion chair for the entire conference. However, I was the only Black person in the room. And that was an opportunity that was presented to me that I am spearheading moving forward, but isn't it kind of a form of discrimination? Isn't it kind of weird to be the only Black person in the room and you're like, oh yeah, you're a diverse person now. Right. It's hard. Other things is racial and ethnic biases that you might come across. I, since my undergraduate career, have gone from relaxing my hair constantly to embracing my natural hair. It can come from family members. My mother being like, well, what will people think with your natural hair at conferences? I was like, nothing, I hope. Or when I first dyed my hair, I used to have bright purple hair. Your hair is purple now. That can be, oh, you're not as professional. I'm a scientist. It's fine. My hair doesn't, the dye doesn't affect my brain. And just coming across. And then there are other forms of microaggressions that can come across in intersectionality with disabilities. In science, you work at lab benches, you work in fume hoods, but they're not always accessible to everyone around you. And that can make it extremely difficult for STEM to promote equity, not just equality, but equity among us. So what can we do? Our job is to support women in STEM and all genders in STEM from all backgrounds. And that comes across in the form of advocacy. Speaking up, see something, say something isn't just a phrase used for one thing. It can be used for everything. Talking to your colleagues, listening to their complaints, and helping grow and move forward is how we truly establish equity in STEM. And that's what our goal for STEM now is. So we'll now move on to our panel discussion. You can find us all on LinkedIn or in the labs. And we look forward to talking with all of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Sure. What is one way you think that can really help stem the tide of women falling out of the education system? Like, what can we do right now to try and help plug up the holes?
I think it has to do with lack of representation, so hiring maybe more teachers or mentors that represent the students in the room. So that's one idea.
I feel in the form of opportunities. So my advisor was always very open when I first joined in the discussion of, so are you comfortable applying for minority grants? Are you comfortable applying for things that are for just women, or is this something that would make you uncomfortable? He was very forward and had this discussion with me in the beginning, and it made me realize how much he cared about my identity without diminishing it, because he saw that this can help move me as a person forward. So encouraging our faculty to look for opportunities that aren't just for everyone, but do focus on those that are underrepresented.
I have a question. So, as grad students, many of you have had the opportunity to like teach oftentimes chem labs, or even being a proctor, or I guess still a TA for like some of the lectures. Do you guys have like any advice either from maybe what you wish you would have had as an undergrad, or as being like a TA for a class, on how you could help like different women in STEM and your like undergrad courses, like students who you're being a TA for, how you could help them feel like more supported and comfortable in these undergrad labs that a lot of the times are very difficult for them, and kind of make them feel discouraged from continuing on to higher level chem or bio courses?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that depending on your background, or even what school you went to, or opportunities that you had, you may not be at the same level as everybody who came in with you. So everybody's at different levels. Some people, I feel like a lot of the time are like, oh, the student should have known this before coming in, or they took the same classes, they should already know all these things that everybody else knows. But really, you don't know what opportunities they had, or what type of education they had beforehand, or if they're learning in the way that they learn, not just how like some teacher told them in the first place. So I like to believe that, like in my classroom, I don't assume that anybody should know anything specifically, and even if technically, yes, they learned it in the last class, I always reteach them. I always make it a point where I don't want my students to be afraid to ask me a question, because whether they should have known it or not, if they don't know something, me telling them that they should have known it isn't helpful. So just knowing that everybody comes from different places and backgrounds and education, and I just start everybody off at the bottom, like and then see where they are.
When I was an undergrad, one of my TAs was very friendly, and I was a very shy kid. I don't know if that's displayed while I was presenting, but I used to be very shy, and so having her be very friendly and open made it easier for me to ask questions when I was lost or confused. And when I teach, I try to be the same way. I try to be friendly, but there is that fine line, because if you're friendly, people think less of you as a scientist, because apparently scientists are robots. You can't be a person, and that, and also they gotta be careful, because sometimes people think you're flirting, and I'm like, I'm not. There have been instances of other TAs, not myself, receiving messages from students like, hey, no. So that's another thing. I think being friendly with students in a way that they know they can come to you, but not too friendly, you know?
Right.
So.
And I think going off of what both Monica and Riley said, that it's more, I think rather than friendly, it would be approachable.
Yeah.
I didn't have TAs in college because it was a smaller university, but even it was just with the professors, there were those professors that were more open, and it would be easier to go and ask questions, and there were other ones that you would just go up to them, and then they could just say one word and we felt stupid, and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna come back. And so I think as TA, I made a point of, you can ask me any questions. I will never say this is, like Monica said, you should have known this, or that's a dumb question. I don't think. So making the students feel comfortable to ask you any type of question, whether it's, how many decimal place does this have, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and I have noticed that's like a universal thing, because I'll have every semester all my like anytime they'll want to ask a question, they're like, I'm so sorry to bother you again. I'm so sorry I know this is a stupid question. And And I'm like, it's not a stupid question, you're not bothering me, it's my job. So I try to make it a point from the very beginning that I love their questions, and to keep it like, have them feel safe, like it's a safe space to learn, because it doesn't matter how smart I am or how like good I can teach them if they don't feel comfortable enough in the classroom to learn anything.
Part of your job, part of our job as TAs is to answer questions, and if they're not asking questions like, oh no, we're just getting paid for nothing.
Right. And I think
You
that
utilize us. I was just saying, utilize us, we're a resource.
And I think that comes across in the form of different training. So I know with TAs and with RAs, because I was never actually a TA, I had many, we take the same training year after year. Like, I know the beginning of the year chemistry training is a pamphlet I've seen 5 years in a row and nothing's really changed, but learning these things, how to engage your students is something that's not really taught. So you kind of learn as you go, or you're like born with it, I don't know. But that form of growth is really important, because I've had teachers who, my best friend and I, she told me, she's like, I just had a dream that we went and fought anyone who told you that you wouldn't make it. Because I had a lot of people throughout the years tell me I wasn't gonna succeed, I wasn't gonna do well. And part of the reason I'm here now with my doctorate is out of spite. Because I was like, no, I'll prove you wrong. So I had teachers in high school who told me I'll never be good at math.
Wow.
And I'm like, cool, I got A's in all my calculuses, thank you. So just a different form of education to our educators. Because when you start to teach, we aren't required to go to teaching classes and learn how to be educators. So that is an action item that should be brought forth.
So chemistry departments, I guess, across universities typically are known to lack diversity. So I was wondering, since you all went to different undergrad institutions, if you could speak to what the diversity was like and how that's similar or different to or from UAlbany.
I had mostly male instructors. My final year and a half, they started to bring on more female professors, but it's because the head of the forensics department was then a female who became in charge. Now there's like a solid 3 women who really spearhead a lot of forensics, but for most of it, it was all men, some who didn't like teaching, and they just wanted to do research.
For me, the entire chemistry faculty, there was a female, she was one of the biochemistry professors, but that's it, as of chemistry. I think there was one female professor who was a biology professor, but that's it. There were no instructors who were female. And class-wise, as student, we were only 2 female graduating from my class. I mean, there were not that many anyways. I think there was 12 of us total, but still, like 2 out of 12 is still pretty low. So compared to Albany, I would say there's a lot of diversity. Compared to SU and UAlbany, I think there's more diversity. Although there really isn't that much either, because it's a much bigger university. And so, where do you draw the line? Yes, there is enough, but it's a big university. So I think there's never enough.
Yeah, and so when I started at Dutchess Community College, it was mostly men in all of my classes. We had like male and female professors, but in my classes it was mostly men, and like especially for physics, I think there was like 45 of us and only 3 were females. And then when I moved on to the 4-year school, University of New Haven, since it was a forensics program, that's like, it's a lot of women in forensics. And I went there and I was it was almost like a culture shock, because I was so used to being around just guys all the time, that then it went into my class and I was like, are we mostly women? But even with that, a lot of people at the university, because I still had to take all of my regular science classes, like it wasn't just forensics Gen Chem, you're original, like all of the, well, I took Gen Chem at community college, but like your P Chem and all of those things. So people, like some of the guys in those classes would be like, well, forensics isn't real science. I'm like, well, I'm taking the same exact classes as you, just some of my other classes are different. So you get a lot of that. I also had an experience, so I had a research advisor and he was a white man, and he was really difficult to work with because he would just say horrible things to a lot of the undergrads, not even just the ones who like worked with him. So for example, like we weren't even talking about anything. He like mentioned something about me making a paella, and I was like, I'm not that type of Hispanic. Like I don't know how. I'm not Spanish. I don't know how to make that. And he like knew some other things about me, so he ended up saying, oh, you don't cook, you don't clean, you don't do drugs, you don't drink, you don't have sex, like what good are you? And I was like,
Wait, what?
yeah, I was like, I'm a scientist, like I don't need to do all these other things at home, like that's none of your business. And so, like I always just had like that nervous feeling like in undergrad, and then coming here, I was so happy to be working under Dr. Musa, like I did not have to worry about any of that, and it's been a lot nicer. If you're wondering, since then that person has
I was gonna say.
retired, but they forced him to retire since then. But yeah.
I had a similar teacher when I was an undergrad. When I started, we had 3 female teachers. We moved buildings between my junior and senior year. They built us a new science building. It was very pristine. One of the female teachers just didn't want to deal with moving, so she left and ironically moved to Michigan from Georgia, but whatever. Another one was angry with changes in administration, and she left. So but they hired me. So when I left, there were 2 female professors. We went from 3 to 2 in my 4 years, and it was very unfortunate. But we were, Augusta University is connected with MCG, the Medical College of Georgia, as well as the Dental College of Georgia, which, fun fact, is the only dental college in Georgia. So a lot of the people that I went to school with wanted to be doctors or dentists or vets or nurses. We had a really good nursing program. Fun fact, my sister's graduating from the nursing program next week. Yay! And so there were a lot of people who wanted to do medicine, and a lot of them did biology. So there weren't very many chemistry people doing the chemistry classes. So we were a very small department. Those of us doing forensics, like Mónica said, mostly women, but the other courses were mostly guys. The school itself had a relatively even split between white students, African American students, and South Asian students. But there wasn't a lot of representation of East Asian or Hispanic or Pacific Islanders, all that. And in the chemistry department, it was predominantly white students. Like I said, I had that professor who was very obviously vocally sexist, but he had tenure. So once I dropped a secretory funnel after I cleaned it, I dropped it. It slipped out of my hand, bounced off the counter, and landed on the floor. And I told my professor, and his response was, well, "Why did you do that?" It's like, "Oh, I just thought it would be a fun way to end the lab." And then as he was helping me clean it up, he said, "Your socks are too short and your pants are up too high. Next time, make sure that your ankle's not showing." It was like this much skin, which I understand in an organic chemistry lab could be, it's not entirely fair, because like,
You didn't comment on anyone else.
he didn't, thank you. That professor also left for administrative reasons. So.
Yeah.
Wow. I have a question.
Yes.
So, first of all, thank you. This is amazing. Seriously.
Thank you.
And what did it for you? Like, I hear you talking about faculty who are great, approachable, friendly, right? And so that resonated. Are there other examples or things that stand out that steered you in this direction? What else was it
pushing me towards STEM in
Yeah,
general.
even if it was adversity, right? Like you said, oh, you told me I couldn't, I'm gonna show you I could, right? What else? I just wanna make sure I'm not leaving anything out, I wanna know.
So I had in high school, I had two wonderful chemistry teachers, who, both men, but were awesome, were allies. They were so supportive of me, and then I had my best friend, who in high school was my friendly rival, but we've been best friends for 12 years now, so 14 years now. And that was amazing. I almost doubted myself, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I try really hard at what I do. And when I was picking my undergrad track, I told my parents, I think I'll do forensic psychology. And they were like, why? You love chemistry. It's like, well, I'm not as good as my best friend in chemistry, so I shouldn't go into chemistry because she's better than me. And they were like, absolutely not.
Right.
And that was something that really reminded me that, like, I don't have to be the best, but I have to be good enough, and good enough for myself. And here I am, and I'm her mother's favorite child. I'm getting my
beautiful.
So it's just finding something that you are really passionate about and that you love, and not letting any one person's opinion stand in your way.
For me, it started in high school as well. I had a great teacher in high school in Italy. It was, I just fascinated by chemistry, and then I came over here as an exchange student actually in high school, and I was always interested in you know, those crime shows and things like that, CSI. And so I came over on the exchange year, and I took a criminal law class, which is a class that is not offered in Italy in high school. And so when I went back to finish high school in Italy, I wanted to do something in the criminal justice, like still in chemistry or in a scientific field, and then apply it to the law. Because that's what forensic is. And so then I was talking in Italy to different people, and to be a forensic chemist or just apply chemistry or science to the law, you have to be in the military. And so they told me, no, the ratios between how many female can enter the military academy is very different how it works compared to here. And so I was talking to my teacher in Italy and my advisor, and what I thought was, I'll just apply for a scholarship in the US and see what I can do. Because I didn't want to go to law school in Italy, but I also didn't want to do something else that I wasn't sure about. And college in general is just very different in Italy. And so I just applied for a scholarship, and my advisor in Italy was like, no, why would you want to go to the US? Just stay here, you're not gonna be able to finish it there. It's very expensive, that's another thing. And so then I applied for scholarships, got a great scholarship, and decided to come here. And then I actually started as a criminal justice major.
Oh, wow, really?
Yep.
That's interesting.
And then talking to different professors, I took a chemistry class and I decided this is it. This is a switch.
So beautiful.
And luckily it was my last, I was the last class I graduated with the opportunity to have a forensic chemistry emphasis, just because the program was getting smaller. And so I was able to stay, and towards the end, I took an internship, and towards the end of college, I took an internship, and I told my supervisor, I think I'm just gonna go to work, and stay there, why would I wanna go further? And he goes, no, like, I think we need women in sciences. And it was kind of surprising because, as I said, the biochemistry professor that I mentioned earlier, she was never my professor. And so I never had a female professor in chemistry. And so that professor saying that, I was like, I never really thought of that, like that women are needed in the sciences. And so, because it never occurred to me, I was just, it's it's not for women, apparently. It never had. I didn't know, you know? And so then I applied, and looking at different programs, I saw Dr. Musa's, and I was very fascinated by her research, and I got accepted, and so I was able to prove that advisor in high school wrong, first of all.
Exactly.
So it's
Spite.
almost, yeah, and yeah, so
That's so beautiful. I see, yes, overlaps with Dr. Musa, but also Dr. Lednab. You mentioned Dr. Lednab
Yeah.
earlier.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there's overlap there too. That's so beautiful. Thank you. Wow. Wow.
Me personally, I just always loved science. Like even as a kid, I was outside like exploring little bugs and like doing science experiments with the grass and the chlorophyll. And then I just have a very analytical brain. So like growing up in school, I never liked my social studies or English classes. I thought they were boring. And I also, especially for English, like why is the curtain blue? What is the meaning behind it? I'm like, the curtain is blue. Like, why is there and yeah, no, it's always like everything always meant something else, and I never understood what was happening. But with science, like the answer was always the answer. And the same with math. Like I like to say, like math is the same language in every country. Like if you do 2 + 2 here, it's the same as 2 + 2 somewhere else. So I always liked that the answers were always the same everywhere as well. And then I took chemistry in high school, and I was just really good at it, and I loved chemistry. And a lot of people didn't understand my teacher because she was from Russia and had an accent. And I like grew up with my mom from South America who had an accent, and I was like, you guys can't understand what she's saying, really?
Right.
So everybody would always ask me what was happening, and I would end up like going around the whole class and like helping everybody with their homework. And I was like, I'm pretty good at this. And then, but even then, like I didn't know much about colleges and things like that, so I just ended up in community college. And then after that, figured everything out. But yeah.
My story has no spite. I did have great teachers in high school. My forensics teacher, I went to 2 high schools because I'm a military kid between my sophomore and junior year. Junior year, I had a forensics teacher who used to work for the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, as a forensic serologist. So that was a very amazing opportunity for me. I had a mentor from Augusta University for my senior project, who's actually the only female teacher that's still there from when I started in the lab, and she was the interim dean for a little bit. But for me, it started a lot earlier. I always like to bring up how my mom didn't let me watch SpongeBob as a kid, but she let me watch CSI with her. And whenever I bring that up, she said, well, it worked out. So, but for me, and then also, not an inspiration, but part of, for me, a reason to work so hard and be where I am is, like I said, first generation college student, but I also, my little sister. Wait a second, hold on. So my little sister, she's been there with me my whole life. We're military kids, so we moved a lot. She's the only person I've known for 22 years who I've known. And I always wanted to be somebody that she could look up to. Oh, frick! That's the sweetest thing ever! So like, nobody tell her.
You're not on video at all.
I know, she can see it. Nobody tell her. But I always wanted to be someone for her to look up to. And she was never somebody interested in sciences, but then she started to become interested in medicine. And now she is graduating from nursing school next week, like I said. Go home to see that. But so for me, I wanted to be the scientific representation, not only for her, but for other
girls.
Oh my god! And so, and then you see my sister. She's like, I showed her a video of one of my presentations. She said, "It looks cool, but I have no idea what you just said." Like, it's okay. I'm just glad you think it looks cool. So I did not mean to start crying.
Seriously, that was amazing. So I'm crying with you. We met. I'm sorry.
They know us.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is just beyond amazing. So when we met, we're like talking about. So I work with a group of girls, Inc., right? We're talking about and they already work with chemistry, biological sciences, physics, mathematics, statistics here at UAlbany, but they've never heard this. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, they work with the faculty, yes, they work with the graduate students, but they've never heard this. This is inspirational. You know what I'm saying? And so, I don't know if there's something there. So every summer I have them here all July long. I mean, just like, I wish they were in this room right now, just to hear this.
We'll talk
You know
to them
what I'm
in
trying
July.
to say?
Yeah, we should definitely set something up.
Just like to hear their voices.
Yeah, and similar to that, somebody brought up, from the biology department, because the RNA Institute
yeah.
does like undergraduate research from undergrads from like different universities. And so he brought up to me doing like something with STEM now, because he was like, I can be a good advisor to some of these, like, he was like last year I did the program and I was like a good advisor in the sense like I could teach them the science and all of these things, but I think it would be nice to do something with STEM now to show them other parts of what it's like to be a scientist.
I talk to high schoolers as often as I can. I'm joining like OICA, YMCA group to like go talk with high schoolers, because it's just so important to like know you're not alone, that your reasons of inspiration or spite and growth aren't your own. I got to speak with Dr. Kelly Knight, who is a forensic scientist. I saw her present at the American Academy of Forensic Sciences, and it was during their diversity panel, and I'm sitting in the audience bawling because she's talking about the first time she realized she was Black, in the way that it was the first time she realized she was different. And I'm sitting there resonating with everything she said, because I went to magnet schools. I grew up with a predominantly white group of friends, so like, oh no,
Right,
oh
yeah,
God.
wow.
And it was like, I'm not alone.
Right.
Crying. So,
Wow.
I love talking, and I love working with them now with Monica. I'm so happy she got to start this, and even though it's great that we're able to advocate for students in our colleges, like working with those that are generations under us to make sure that they don't have to have a group like this one day, where it's just like, we are diverse.
That's so beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go cry now.
I know, right? This is awesome.
Alright guys, we still have like half an hour left in the session technically, but are there any last questions? Alright, if there aren't any last questions, then please thank our presenters, amazing job.